Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a really interesting topic, which is, do we treat everyone as equal? Do we always treat everyone as equal? That's the question for the week this week. I wonder what you guys think. If you have a pen and paper, I'm sure you do. What do you think? Do you think we always treat everyone as equal? And if you don't, I don't know, take 30 seconds to yourself. Why do you think we do or don't treat everyone as equal? I have my own theories, I have my own beliefs about why we do or we don't. But I think it's an interesting topic of conversation nonetheless. First of all, what does it mean to treat everyone equally? I think the basis of treating everyone equally is to offer everyone the same respect, and if possible, to offer everyone the same opportunities. I don't always think that's possible because there's so many mitigating circumstances. Okay, there's so many things that can influence why someone gets these set of opportunities versus why somebody doesn't. But at the very least, where it's in our power to offer the same opportunities, I think we should try to do that at all times. I think that's fair. But do we always do that? Do we always offer the same opportunities? Do we always treat everybody with respect? No, we don't. And there's all manner of reasons why. Sometimes we just have certain beliefs about people that may or may not be true, but because we don't actually do the work to research why we think that, or we don't actually question our own beliefs, we never actually get to the bottom of why we think what we think about somebody. Come across somebody you don't really like and you don't really know why. I remember when I was in school, there was this boy in my English class called Suraj. Great guy, I'm friends with him now. Or at least Facebook friends, so I guess that means we're friends. In school, he was very into politics. I always thought that was weird. I don't know why, I just never had any context for it. It wasn't something me or my family or my friends ever really grew up speaking about collectively as a group. But I think I took his wanting to encourage people to talk about certain things as a bit of a challenge, and I didn't like that. And so because I was probably too weak and insecure of a person to just tell him no, I actually would get really aggressive and be really angry towards him and be rude and be unkind. You know, we almost came to blows. That was when I was in year 10. It wasn't until years later when I went to university where there was a lot of stuff happening politically and I would see a lot of stuff online. And I just remember one day on Facebook, I just logged on and actually saw something he posted about one of the political parties at the time. And I actually found myself agreeing with what he was saying. And I thought, wow, this is weird now because this is somebody I don't really like. But at the same time, I actually think I get what he's saying. And that was probably one of the first times it really dawned on me that actually I might think I don't like someone, but equally be capable of agreeing with what they think, which also then means I can be capable of liking someone but disagree with what they think. Huh? And that really, really irked me, because that made me then understand one of the weirdest things about life is we can be in a position where we think the right way about something, and that can make us create enemies or cause us to create distance between one another. And I think that can be dangerous. So when we're talking this week about treating everyone equally, this is one of the things I really wanted to challenge you guys on, or to challenge you guys to think about, is how do you know your ideas are right? Do you know where your ideas come from? And do you know if your ideas are wise or detrimental to other people? And sometimes you are going to have the right idea about something and it still might feel to somebody else like it's detrimental to them. And that's not me trying to say you shouldn't have those ideas. What I am trying to say though is we do need to be aware of what we think and why we think it, because sometimes, probably more so a lot of the time, what we think about other people informs how we treat them. This week is Holocaust Memorial Week, I believe. And if I'm wrong, then it will be the week before or it will be the week after. The important bit about that is there was actually a time in our history, human history, where because of the ideas presented to a certain group of people, another group of people were really unfairly treated. And that would be making it light. During World War II, the German people were presented with a savior of such, Adolf Hitler. I'm sure you've heard this name before. At this point in time, for Germany, they were not the political, economic power that they once were during World War I, okay? So at this time, they were actually struggling. And Adolf Hitler sort of promised to the German people that he would make Germany great again. In that time, the German people, they were desperate. He promised to restore them to economic power, to political power. And he promised them that. But what he also did was he elevated this idea that the people that were living in their country, specifically the Jewish people, They were the reason that the purebred Germans were suffering. They were the reason why the purebred Germans were not the same political, economic power that they once were. And he elevated this idea. Remember, I talked to you about ideas before. You got to understand where they come from, because sometimes they can set you up to fail. He elevated this idea, and because of the desperation and the time that the German people were in, they bought it. And sometimes it happens to us, guys. Sometimes you don't like somebody else because your friend doesn't like them. Sometimes somebody convinces you that you shouldn't talk to this person over here because they don't like you and they've said bad things about you, and sometimes you don't even know. And actually worse than that, what Hitler did was he elevated this idea that there was only two options, okay? And he said this in a speech, that either the people of the Aryan race, or the Aryan race, however you say it, either they win ultimately, or the Jews win. And of course, when somebody presents an idea to you like that and you're weak, and you're mentally not stable and strong enough to see that there could be balance, that possibly, you know, we can find a way to coexist, what naturally happens to most of us as human beings, it goes south very quickly, and it did. And so what we saw during the Second World War was a mass extermination of Jewish people, purely based on the idea that they were the reason why Germany wasn't great again. Which is incredibly sad, incredibly dangerous. But guys, I want to tell you that there's this saying that if we don't learn from the mistakes of our past, we're doomed to repeat them. If we don't learn from the mistakes of history, we're doomed to repeat it. And so guys, I just wanna, the lighting is terrible in here, but I just want to encourage you guys to think about this week, is do we treat everyone equally? Okay, and if we don't, why? You know, the Bible in Mark 12:30-31 says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's a command. That's God's instruction to you and I to make sure that you're showing kindness and respectfulness and being gracious towards people and doing it for yourself first, which is ultimately always going to help you do it for others. You know, if you don't have something, you can't give something. If I don't have £10 in my pocket, I can't give you a tenner. Yeah, or in my bank, I can't give you a tenner. But if I do, I can. And so what God tries to encourage us to think about here is, if we are going to live in a way that we can actually treat people equal, we have to learn first to love and treat ourselves well, but also, once we learn to do that for ourselves, do it for other people. Death and life is in the power of the tongue, the Bible says. And why is that important? Because it's important to know that the words you use have the ability, okay, to influence other people. Yes, do not be fooled into thinking that, oh, you just called someone ugly and that won't affect them. If you're the only time they've heard someone describe their appearance, you might be the one thing that they remember for the rest of their lives, okay? And there's many other examples, you know, taking the mick out of someone's ability of something, you know, calling someone a nerd or calling someone an idiot or you know, trying to mock other people because they actually study. All of these silly things that we do because we don't have the confidence in ourselves to be ourselves. These things are whack. These things are not cool. Anyway, what am I trying to say in all of this? Let me just quickly wrap up this video. I think we're giving you some practical examples, I think, ways that we can actually like practically treat people equally or work towards it. First of all, listen to others. If you listen, you have an opportunity to understand. That's important, because when you have the opportunity to understand, you can actually build relationships with people. 2, speak up if you see someone being treated unfairly. If you see something you go, that doesn't seem right, speak up, speak on their behalf. Listen, you might find out actually that maybe you don't even really agree with that person that you're speaking on the behalf of entirely. But if you see something that you think is unfair, step in, be courageous, be bold. Say you don't think it's right. You can always learn if you are right about that in the long term. But in that short term, if you don't think it's right, okay, be bold, you know, be confident. And then when you stand up to that person or to somebody, have a conversation with them as well. Challenge them on their ideas. Say, why do you think what you do? And then listen. And perhaps you might even build a relationship with somebody that was your enemy before by standing up for somebody that you call a friend. I'm telling you, it happens in life, it's crazy. And then third of all, as much as you can, be inclusive. What do I mean by be inclusive though? I want to preface this by saying you can accept people without accepting their ideas. So I might be somebody's friend and not agree with them at all.
I beg your pardon?
And you might be like, how can you do that? Because sometimes what people believe and who they are two different things. And actually, I might have an opportunity to influence them by listening to what they believe and understanding who they are. And so what I'm doing is putting myself in a position, okay, to positively influence others through the words that I can use by first listening to the words that they have. And I think that's good practical advice. I'm sure there's a lot more I could say, to be honest, guys, but I think the challenge for you guys this week is do you know why you believe what you believe about certain groups of people or about yourself even? Do you practice using kind words to other people? Do you do that? I wouldn't necessarily say you practice what you preach. I think you actually preach what you practice. I think it's that way around. Because I think what you practice it then becomes part of you, and what is a part of you often becomes what comes out of you. And so I want to encourage you guys to think about that. And then finally, and I guess you guys can like write this down, is have you got a good tip that you can share with somebody else to help them treat other people fairly and equally? And that's where I think I'll land with that. Boy, I don't know how I'm gonna edit this video, boy. But we move. Anyway, until next time, my people, take care, don't stress and stay blessed. Peace.
And I just wanna say that I woke up today and God, I thank you. And I just wanna say at the end of the day that I am thankful. And I just wanna say at the end of the day that I